guys, welcome to another episode of Midnight Madness Chats with Hardman. So today on the air, I don't have an artist, but I have someone that artists should look up to and that make the music industry a much better place. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
Well, and thanks very much for having me on today. I really appreciate the interest and our conversations so far. My name is Mark Rosner, and I am hailing out of Vancouver, BC, Canada. And I started a record company about 6, 7 years ago as I was a manager from about 2010 and then it grew and grew and grew, and it became more than management. It became to where it was an all-encompassing umbrella group of services, and I formed a record company called Big Records World. And so we have grown around the world based on some simple things that I, as a musician growing up, I'm 57 now, but with the change from analog world into digital, there was this upheaval in the whole industry. And as a musician, I always remember the old school music industry as, one of controlling artists. You sign them, and then, you can, if they sort of take off, then you take all the money. And if they don't, then you just shelf them. This was the old model, which was gross. And the beautiful thing about 2008 onwards is that artists started to have their own power over their careers with Facebook. Hey, I can sell my music now privately, and just for me, and that was great. That was a great evolution into where we are now. What was lost in there was that there was some good things about the old record companies having the power to do significant things for artists, and that all collapsed. For instance, leverage, right? So great artists, indie artists around the world, could do a lot of things, but there's still some things that they miss, like the leverage needed to get sponsors. That can be really tough. The connections needed to get out of their region, their country, their continent, and to expand around the world. Developing a perception with festivals that you're signed and that you have representation. So I created a company that would create all of these bigger opportunities, help artists with things they can't necessarily do themselves, but not control the artists. So we don't sign exclusive deals. Artists agree to work with whoever they want, and in a lot of cases, we help them with their relationships and form groups together. There's power in numbers and in creating leverage. I hope that explains my heart and my vision properly.
Yes, 100%. And you've answered my first question as well. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to chat to us. For those of you that don't know, we have spoken in the past, Mark, myself, and Michael Tiffany, about potential partnerships and things in future coming. And we like to work with passionate people. Now, Mark himself is a very passionate man, and being a musician and seeing the market sort of going into a complete different direction, decided to take action and help artists. And as an artist that tried to earlier this year travel internationally, it is a difficult task if you don't have the support of an organization. Things tend to not work out as you think it would. So I do think that having an organization like yourself backing you before you go on an international tour, especially from poorer countries like ourselves, would be very beneficial. Because, I mean, going to a country that you don't know what's going to happen. These people know the industry. Like Mark, yourself, you know the industry, you know what's going to happen. But let's talk a little bit. Let's go, before we go to touring and all that nice things, let's go back to music. So when an artist, let's go music in the past and the music now. When an artist used to be in a band, they would record their demos, and then they would take those demos to maybe big record labels. And sometimes they're lucky. Like, for instance, Nickelback got quite lucky and someone actually listened. Where you guys now in modern times have a complete new approach to this. So a lot of bands don't know how social media and all these type of things work because musicians are not meant to be business people. So tell us how you, as a record label, take artists and how you develop their streaming platforms for them and things. Just tell us about what you do in that part of the whole thing that you call the music industry.
Yes, sure. So what's interesting is the first thing I do with an artist is I listen. I listen to where they are at, where their music is, because I mean, you have to look at the genre, the experience level, what they've done in the past, where they're located makes a huge difference. Um, and some artists are really accomplished from the past and wondering how it worked now because what worked 10 years ago and 20 and 30 years, it doesn't work anymore. So we have to know everything. We have to have artists that have been through the process of everything, whether it's we were big before, now what do we do? Or whether we're just a new band, what do we have to do first? We have to know everything. So my task was to, and I've done this over the last 15 years, is I have found a great team of people who, number one, care about the artists, care about the music, number two. Number three, we have a vast collection of artists and industry people and sponsors and whatnot all over the world. And so we have the 30,000-foot view of what's working. So we can pass that knowledge. We stay away from things like here's how much you're going to make and here's what you can be a millionaire. You can I'm looking for a star. All of that BS from the past is gone. It's blue collar. Where are you at? What do you need next? And we have a group of about 15 people directly on our staff, all different areas, experts in their field. Each expert knows more than I do. And that's the way I'm the figurehead that brings it together and creates the community. And we can't do everything for every person. What we can do is be a significant part of the puzzle with where an artist needs to get to. That's so different. You get people who have families and I just had a kid or I lost my job or just all of that.
Mm.
It's great to create a community that cares about one another and that shares details with each other. So we're not here to create a rosy picture of anything. We're here, to deal with reality. What do we need to do to get to the next level? And here's the information. Here's the services. Here's whatever someone's needed. You know, I get people calling who have zero money, and then there's people with unlimited funds and everything in between. And so the money portion of it always comes into play. No matter how much money you have, you can't buy your way into stardom. You've got to have ability and you've got to have drive. You've got to have patience. You've got to be good talking with people and creating friendships. That's what this is all about. Some of the best contacts I have are people I've known for decades, and we just stick together. And so we want to be on the forefront of what the next thing is for the artist, but we also want to supply very grassroots things. For instance, an artist tries to hire a publicist, very expensive. So, I don't hire a publicist. Well, if you don't have a publicist, you're gonna have trouble. That you've got to have people advocating, going into places when you're asleep. They're working wherever they are in the world. I mean, some of our success stories, coming from places that you'd never necessarily, jump to mind, like Papua New Guinea. We've helped an artist from Papua New Guinea, who's gone, skyrocketed in his popularity and his connections. He's now signed to to a manager of the Wailers, Bob Marley's, family, that kind of thing. And he's touring the world to talk about, how do you travel from Papua New Guinea into the USA? We had a strategy, it worked, and now he's doing wonderful. And we're going to film a TV show in New Guinea, in Cambodia, in India, and all that. Like, I like to think really big, but I like to have the practical stuff set in place, and then just we do the best we can. And I hope I may be jumping around a bit here, but I'm it's meant to say that I'm a person who my father taught me. He said you need to be in the bus business because that's where I am. And I said, Dad, I said I want to be in music. I know the odds. I know it's really tough. I know it's not a great life maybe in some ways, but my strategy in life was to not get to my dying days and say, I wonder what would have happened if I'd have done this. And so that's how I live my life every day. I get up and I make today work and towards, you know, music and the music business and people that I know. And that's what I try to do. And
This is such a big topic to talk about. So the fact that you're just going with it's perfect. We're having a great time, and yeah. So let's talk about. So you've sent me your contract. I've been going through it. I have not 100% gone through the whole thing. It's quite a bit to read and to consider. But now let's talk about things that you mentioned yourself just now. You said you can help bands get sponsors. And I don't think bands understand always what goes on behind being in a band. So when a new band starts up fresh, you think, oh, I'm gonna make music, it's gonna be all, sunshine and roses. And then the business side of music comes in, money starts talking. Going on tours is expensive. So I also read a little bit in your contract about sponsorships and things. So tell us how you help bands that say want to go on tours and things with the sponsors. If a band decides, that they're joining big records, tell me a little bit about the process and what you guys do for the bands and stuff like that concerning sponsors.
well, with everything, every aspect of our agreement, there's an element of consulting and there's also connection. So, example, a band joins and says, "Let's get sponsors," as one area. There's multiple ways of getting sponsors. You can get smaller sponsors by using your social media and tagging a sponsor and interacting, and then that results in them sending you a product maybe. And so now then you say, okay, how do we grow this? Well, the key to doing that, to growing to the next level, is $250, $500, $1,000 is nice, but it's not sustainable. The first thing you've done is you've created a relationship there. So once you create relationships, you can look further into it. But what sponsors need is they need write-offs. That's the main thing that they need, is they need to be able to write it off. So when you start talking about 2,000, 5,000, 50,000, 200,000, these kinds of numbers, there's a write-off they need. They can't just give away money. And so most artists don't have the reach and leverage to, make a deal that works for that company. However, a larger entity and partnerships does. So nonprofits are the way to establish a write-off. Then you've got to have events and things that can be offered back to the company. This is where we step in. The artist can never get the bigger sponsors, which is the key to getting to the next level. People say, "What's the next level?" That's it. It's money. At some point, it comes down to money. That's not. I didn't create that. That's just the way it is, right?
Just how the industry works.
I know, and it's like going into McDonald's and trying to order something and saying, well, I'll tell people about the burger, just give it to me for free. They're not going to do it, and so it's a way the system works, and we have to work around it. We have to find ways around it. And an example is we are partners in the upcoming Invictus Games, which is put on by Prince Harry. It's coming to Vancouver Whistler. And our nonprofit, VeteransHouse.ca, is involved in this, and that's our way in, and we create events around it. And it's kind of a, it's who you know, it's getting into what makes these corporations tick. There's lots of money there. In Canada, we do have grants, which are good. But grants are a step down from sponsorships, because grants require a lot of and you can do them, but you have to remember most grants are like, there's a process and you have to go through it, and then you have to graduate to the next level, and it's worth 50% of the cost. So you already have to have the tour in place, and then they decide whether it's worth it. There's a lot with sponsorships. You have the ability to fashion it any way you want. So we have a bus company in the U.S. that does tours. Like, we're doing Rick Springfield coming up here in a couple of weeks. We're getting started on that, and we can put logos on the side of the bus, and then we can film it for our TV show, which is around the world. And it's all interconnected, and it's relationships. So there's a way to get smaller. Any independent artist can target and tag a local, company and do smaller sponsorships. When you get into larger things, you need the leverage of a big company that can show, connections to other big companies, and its perception becomes reality. Those kinds of things.
Yeah, 100%. So it's very interesting, because a lot of times I have, in my career with Diverted, probably received about 20 odd record deals, I guess, for very similar companies to yourself. But I could never like read a contract and think to myself, this is the one I would want to go with, because a lot of they're obviously much smaller than you guys are, but a lot of the companies, they sort of give you like a PR pack, sort of, let's call it
Yes,
a PR, where
sure.
they promote your music, they get you on radio, and then that's what they do, I was actually chatting a few months ago, not too long ago. A guy contacted me from a record company, and he said no, he wants to sign the band because he's heard of the band, he thinks it's a great band, and they're going to sign us for free. But they want 80% of our royalties. And I said to him, what can you give me that I'm not giving myself? Don't tell me you will get me on radio, because I can get me on radio. Like,
Yep.
you understand what I mean? I do. I work with, well, in partnership with Midnight Madness, and I work with radio stations all over the world. So saying to me, you'll get me on radio, to me means nothing. Saying to me, I'll get you on a Spotify playlist, means nothing. But what you guys are doing is something different. You're adding that as a bonus, but you're going to the next level. You are adding to the business side. You're getting sponsors. You're planning tours. You're doing bigger things, and obviously, then your stats make sense. Because I mean, if you are joining a record label and they are taking 80% of all your royalties, but they are getting you 2,000 streams a month extra, for instance. 2,000 streams a month is not worth losing 80% of your royalties. I mean, how difficult. But you guys take it to the very next level. So tell me, what can artists expect? Other than, now we spoke about sponsors, and we spoke about the sort of the PR pack that you guys do. What can artists expect from you on another level as well?
Um, and I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of the companies that have sprouted up during the new digital age are based on a very narrow sort of viewpoint, like what's available digitally. So we can press a button and you get a bunch of bots on your playlisting. And playlisting, what is it for unless it's creating new fans? This is what everybody's missing. Okay, is that the old school record company? Okay, they put you on tour, you'd have a press release, you'd have a radio tour, it was all encompassed. Okay, and so now we have a lot of digital warriors, people who have websites and sitting in their basement, and pressing buttons digitally. The thing that's missing is just relationships. Relationships, it goes back, that's what does it all the time, is who you know, being a part of the future. So yes, we charge for what we do for the first year, and after that, it's based on commission. Whatever we bring to you, we take a commission. But what that does is it helps to build a foundation in the first year, and after that, it becomes a relationship that's ongoing. We've got artists that have been around for 10 years with us, and we're so excited to create, new relationships that can last a long time. So it's the difference is relationships. So what we have and what we know today is different a month from now. 8 months ago, we never had Invictus Games. And so what I was talking to people, but everything we did up until then led us to getting this partnership, right? So we're building relationships with companies, people. Uh, Radio is now a part of the puzzle. It's not the as you say, everybody can get. Yeah. So what we're doing is creating relationships in radio too that are, and charting and all of those, because it gets into things like Sirius XM and iHeart, huge platforms that we are on that lead to other things. And so this is the corporate side of things is needed. So working with us is about, I think we're able to bob and weave and move with the industry and grow. For instance, we have a relationship that's 3 years into this now with the former vice president of Oracle, which was a huge company, and he worked with Zuckerberg and all that. Now he's retired, lives in San Francisco, and loves music. And he's created hivemusic.com, and it's a platform that's going to, it's growing, consistently, and it's like Facebook meets Netflix. And this is where we get into, people. If you look at stocks, for instance, people who do the stock market, they know that you have to do your research and you have to get in early. And so people are always looking for something that's already there. That's not the key. The key is, where's something going to be in a year from now? We're going to be further along a year from now than we are now. And so getting in with people, that's what I do, is I find people that have the right heart and the right direction, and I believe in them, and then we start to go. And so you can't just jump in at the top, for instance. And this is what artists need to know, is there's a step-by-step process, and having some people that are watching what's going on all over the world is a good. We have artist meetings. So artist in New Guinea is sitting there talking to somebody from, Africa and Europe and this, and what's working for you? Okay, let's talk about that. So we're an artist-friendly co-op that have our services, our connections, and ideas, and it's fair. It's fair as well. I think one of the things to watch out for is, there's a lot of companies who charge a lot of money, and it's a short-sighted, hey, we're going to really push you for 3 months, and well, your money's gone after 3 months, and then you got to purchase again, right? So the idea is we're a club, we're a label, we're a full-service label, but we're a club. Get in on the club and start to take advantage of the opportunities. And if you don't, if some people, the bands break up or people move on or whatever, you're not bound to anything, and neither is your music. This is why you stay away from exclusive contracts. We get this, we get that. No. Wouldn't you rather just pay for a service that works and a group of people, a one-time thing? It's low, the amount is low. Now I understand. Let's talk about money a little bit here. I think if most artists knew, what it's going to take when they start, like financially, it's overwhelming. This is why I always emphasize, do the right things, set things up, get the template in place, and then, yes, you cannot finance your own career. You can't, not the whole thing. When you get to a certain level, you're going to need financing from corporations who would rather give money to the art forms and, to the nonprofits than to the government, who wastes it and blows it on whatever, right? So there's a tiered system that can work and grow, and we can't control, Like I always like to say, we can help you do as good as you can do, right? If we're promising the world to people, you know, it's based on talent, it's based on luck a lot of times. There's all that, but our hearts are good. All the people that work in our company, I vetted them, they have a good heart. They're not in this for the money. They're in it to help and be a part of the solution of building better systems. Even Barry Perkins in San Francisco with Hive Music, he's developing alternatives to Spotify and all of that because uh, honestly, there's just way too much in Spotify and all these other platforms. Like the money is all going to one guy, or like it's less really about the artists and all of that. Now there's wonderful tools that are artist tools comes up to mind, where you can check if numbers are real, you can see if they're bots and whatnot. But ultimately, there's too much power in the hands of an elite few with the music, and so we're a part of taking the power back for artists.
No, that's perfect. You made a perfect analogy. While you were speaking, I was actually thinking about it, and then you said it. When you invest in a company, especially a record label that you want to, you know, evolve your brand. Um, it's important because I did quite a bit of research on you guys, and I followed the whole trail and everything. It's important to know where people come from. And it's important to know that the company has been. So when you invest money in stock, you are not going to invest money in a company that started up 2 months ago. They've been going up and up and up and then down and down. So you want something that had a constant growth. Um, I've invested some money in a company recently, and I lost a lot of money because they've been up and down and up and down, and it's terrible. But I've invested money in another company where the stock grows a little bit, but there's a constant growth, and that is the type of record company you want to represent you. You don't want some fly by night guy that's gonna basically cost you money and not do anything for you. And I do think you guys have a very, very good system, going. And let's talk about bots. Let's talk about fake and everything. This is important. And I've said this to so many artists. Do not waste your money on fake streams. You look bad. You look bad. Having 22 monthly listeners with 40,000 streams looks bad. It looks bad in
Yeah.
the industry. If you're a promoter and you book festivals, I see a band, 22 monthly listeners, 40,000 streams. I go, skip. I don't want to book this band. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So knowing the difference and importance between real streams and bot streams are so important in modern times. And like you mentioned, people tend to be disheartened because good music has a lot to do with it. Sometimes, you make music and the audience doesn't stick to it. It's difficult to digest. So people go and buy these fake streams, and then they think, yeah, now people will start listening to my music now because I've got 100,000 streams with 22 monthly listeners. And yeah, so tell us. You said it the other day. People. You have to know this is a process. This is a growing process. So how do you guys get involved with the artist music and say, like, listen, you need to spice things up a bit? And how do you handle artists that feel disheartened because maybe their music is not up to standard or not
Hmm.
sticking with the audience?
Yeah. Yes, there's a couple of things there. If you go into a, if you're going to build a house and you go into the big store, I don't know, we have Home Depot out here, but you go in, you got to pick out the tools and you got to build it yourself. It's no different than the music. And the beauty of having the tools is that someone can call me with a question and I can point them to somebody. One of our great team members, Tim Steinruck, he's in his 60s now, and but he was first signed to Paul Stanley of Kiss when he was a young whippersnapper, And he's an example of somebody in his 60s who's been killing it around the world with what he's doing, and he's still growing. We have there's a manager and promoter on our staff as well, who's from the East Coast of the USA, who manages Sydney Irving, and you can look her up and stuff. And again, he's a great proponent in all of the pieces. Everything needs to be happening. So you can't just press a button, get a bunch of listeners, and then expect your career to. There's a whole. You have to do the whole thing. You have to have it all running. And she's got sponsors. She's doing reels every day. She's putting out the social media. She's collecting emails. All of those things. She's doing everything. And she just did a wonderful remake on Jolene from Dolly Parton with Dolly's blessing. But no, there's smart people involved, and you want to just watch what they're doing and access their consulting is huge. Having the ability to call up someone that you can trust and say, I got an idea, what do you think about this? So fake streams, we have people, and this has changed, of course, in the last 5 years. I think there was a lot of look at what I can do, and there's that initial thing with all the streams, but now everybody's smartened up, including the festivals, and you've got to have engagement. So we have playlisters that do a great job of organic playlisting, and there's no getting around the fact that doing playlisting takes time, takes someone's time. So if you're going to press a button, there's tons of companies. Press a button, $200, boom, we get you this many. That's not going to do it. Just go to a crappy restaurant and get cheap food. See how you feel afterwards. Okay, go to a nice restaurant once in your life. I mean, we go out once a month or something like that to a great place, and just see how you feel after proper meal and fresh, and not huge portions. Right? It's no different. You get what you pay for. But here's the thing: you've got to start with a basic. We charged about $2,000 US for a full year. Now I'm going to be very forthright here, very transparent. I see it all. I see the people who look at $2,000 and say, "Oh, that's a lot of money," and then I have people say, there must be something wrong here. You're only charging 2,000. Look, we can customize. If somebody's just looking for a one service, it's not $2,000. It's just one service. We have universal virgin distribution. A lot of people might be looking for that. Fine. If we're going to administrate it, we'll charge you a little fee. Administrate it. Done. Whatever you want. Sponsorships only, touring only, whatever you're looking for, we can cut it up. I think though that for people looking for the taste, the buffet, the everything. Okay, let's get it all going at the same time. We have a very reasonable amount that we charge. Now, why do we charge? Well, because we have professionals that spend their time bringing their service to you in hopes that little spark can lead to the sponsorships and the touring and the connections and the ideas and the relationships. And that is what will get you to the level where you're starting to bring in the money. And we've had people have millions of proper organic streams, and they make some good money back on that. But again, it's based on, is the music good? Is the timing right? There's a bit of luck involved, but there's time. Streaming is one part of the business. And I think that a lot of people are who just, they're looking for that one button they can push, right? Okay, I'm done. I'm doing streaming now. Streaming is a part of things, but I think what happens is artists don't get into areas that they don't understand. Sponsorships is a good example of artists don't do it because they don't get it. They don't understand, so they avoid it. And they go to the easier thing like the Spotify. Okay, I can pay a company, boom, my numbers are up, at least it looks like. But if you really are serious about the business, it's really just people, it's relationships, it's getting to know people. There's people who want to dive in, and then there's people that are, they're consistent. We have an artist, that Sarah Smith, who's just really great, and we've worked alongside Sarah for, I don't know, I've known her for 10 years now. And back in, I think the late, like maybe 2008 or something, did a tour of Europe. She went to Germany and lost money on the first tour and, really good live. And so they booked her again to come back the next year. And so she came back and she broke even and then just kept touring. It's been like 14 years now. She goes to Germany, does like 30 shows in 31 days or something, brings her band and makes good money. This is the kind of long-term approach that people need to take in the industry rather than just one and done. And I'll try this for a little bit and try that. If I had been a try this and try that kind of guy, I'd have quit long ago. I've had many successes, many failures along the way that have gotten me to the point. Imagine my first day, Artie. Imagine my first day, 44 years old or 43, leaving my job, didn't have a paycheck coming, nothing. No one was going to. What's my first call? Your first phone call? Like, where do you go? You pile up experience and relationships over time. And some people are there and some people drift away and this and that, but you stay to your vision, you'll get there, whatever it is.
Now that's very wise. I think, you as a musician, you have to also have that social aspect. Um, you're never gonna get your music out there if you sit in your room playing your guitar all the time and not like rebranching out. But for those who can't do that, there's people like yourself, um, where I think I'm a very social person. I tend to reach out quite a bit, and I've made some really nice friends in the industry. But I myself, we're still discussing it as a band, but we love what you do, and joining the big leagues is what our band is about. That is what we want. We're not, well, it's a hobby, it's a passion project, we love what we do, but we want to do this for more people. We want to go to other countries. And I think in my own little situation, signing up to something like big records, or signing up to big records at least, is the way to go. You need people that know. You need industry experts, like you said. You need industry experts that has been there. They've smoked the pipe. They know where to go. So it's definitely, I think, in modern times.
I love what you just said, Hardy. Can I add something because it just came to my mind and I'm old, so I'll forget.
Go for it.
So about 6 years ago, a guy calls me from the US and he says, let's have a chat. I talked to him for a year before we actually signed. But he's a rock musician. He's older, has a tremendous history in the scene, LA, right? Knows everybody. We started to work together. And I found out that he got his start driving bus for Share, right? And that led him into the industry where he met, he's driving the bus and in the lead bus driver for people like Timberlake and Beyonce and just on down the line, Jeff Tate, Queensryche, all of that. And I, there's his music, his rock music, right? That he loves to create. But then there's the business person. And I said, Jimmy, I said, I see something bigger here for you, that don't just look at what's out there. Look at your business potential. Jumping forward, 2.5 years ago, we bought a bus together at Touring. Now there's another company that's just signing today where we have like multiple tour buses with Live Nation, and we're doing that together. Now that bridge, like I said, we're doing Rick Springfield coming up, Boz Scaggs, these he's doing we're doing a tour coming up in October. I don't know much about hip hop, rap, that kind of thing, but it's a part of the music industry. It's a big part of the music. So we're driving bus for BLP Kosher coming up in October, and they're was pretty decent size. I mean, Warren G, Snoop Dogg, we're part of those tours. All this is
Mm,
this has led to so many opportunities. And so people like yourself, you have not only the music, but you have business opportunities that can open up by just exposing what you do to a bigger group of people. And what I believe in is I believe in connecting people. I've been told that that's my strength, connecting people. And then I don't step in and sort of say, "Hey, I'll connect you to this person, but I want 20% of that." No, I don't go that route. When I introduce people, the good news is they can take that relationship and take it wherever they want. I don't control them. The
mm,
downside is if you get introduced to somebody and you're then the number one contact to that person, so you can take it wherever you want. I can't, nor do I want to control people and what they do. I can consult after that, but again, as a musician, you have to take the connections. As a business person, you take the connections. I'm here to help and consult, but you take it where you want it to go. And so um, the business world is good and bad. I mean, if people knew, I'm amazed with some of the wonderful things that happen. I'm also saddened by some of the things like what you're telling me about. You lost a lot of money on something, and there's this business is full of speculation. It's up and down, and so why do it? Well, the alternative, and musicians will relate to this, is that you know the hamster wheel of the day job and whatnot. It's good for stability. Some people have good situations, and others not so much. But there's a real low ceiling, isn't there, in life? If you're working the day job, it can take all your time up, and it takes away from the music. You get home, the argument of I'll just work at my day job, and then I'll get home and I'll do my music. Hard, right? You get home, you're tired, you're exhausted,
it's
you're
tough.
not feeling creative, and then boom, you're
Yeah.
back on the hamster wheel the next day. Life is about a balance. It's about getting knocked down and getting back up the next day. You're going to have good and bad experiences. Overall, when I've gotten ripped off or something didn't work the way I thought and I came out on the short end of the stick, it's really all just learning at that point and taking some good out of whatever situation happened, and just it's about resilience. I think that's the biggest thing. Life is about resilience, and that goes outside of music. It goes into your life and your choices that you make. It's all about resilience. People want a smooth ride. Good luck. Good luck. I suppose that's why a lot of people are they do prefer punching the time clock at a job, because at least they got that. But in the original music business, it's about taking calculated risks. Period. That's all it is. You win at some, you lose at some. But like it or not, that's what it is. That's why I say don't risk more than you can afford. You know.
Mm. No, that is 100% the truth, and I think this is the big leagues. If you want to do things properly, you need people like yourself to get into the big leagues. But anyway, thank you so much for your time and talking about your amazing projects that you are busy with, and all the amazing things that big records are doing for artists and independent artists. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Just to thank you, and I hope we can do lots together, Hardy. I love what you're doing. I love your attitude, and Michael and everything. I'm excited to. We had our first conversation, and I'm excited to explore where we can go with this. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, they can email me at mark@bigrecords.world, and I'll get back to you and we can have a chat. And Other than that, I look forward to seeing this and to promoting this and your network. And do send us the link when it's ready, and we'll spread it around, and we'll just go from there.
No, thank you so much for your time. Until next time, I've been Hardman.
Take care.
Thank